Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing fantastic. And that you're all having a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already done so, there's a brand new video every 24 hours. A very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment on every single video, helping out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We've been here for a while. We're back on the optimism train, if you will. The price predictions for Bitcoin are becoming quite intense, as they have been for a while, but I think that most people are probably used to them at this point. It is no surprise that a large number of analysts are predicting more or less that over the course of, May, June, July, August, September, October, by October, November, they're predicting that we will be at a $500,000 Bitcoin. The amount of accumulation among companies continues to ramp up quite aggressively on a day-to-day basis, depending on when you're watching a video at any time during a week. We're getting some kind of news that someone or a company purchased around $180 million worth of Bitcoin, 1.3 billion. We just had Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs now has 1.4 billion US dollars worth of Bitcoin through the BlackRock ETF. The question now is, as we officially move closer to the middle of the year, how much longer is this going to go on? Where are prices going to go? And what will essentially become of this bull run? A crypto analyst who nailed Bitcoin's pre-halving correction last year believes that the final stages of the Bitcoin bull market are currently underway. We've heard from this guy before. He's quite popular on Twitter. His name is Rekt Capital, R-E-K-T Capital. Told 500,000 people on social media that a new Bitcoin 4-year cycle has begun. It sounds confusing. It'll make a lot of sense, and it's also completely true. It's just a matter of if this cycle is going to be the same or dramatically different than other cycles that we've had before. The analyst says that year one of a new cycle typically sends Bitcoin to levels near or never seen before. He says 2025 will be the year of the Bitcoin bull market peak. 2026 will be the year of the Bitcoin bear market. And 2027 will be the bottoming out year to precede an entirely brand new future bull market. I say as a side note, there are still a lot of people calling or believing that basically cycles might be over or might be completely different than what we've seen before. If my prediction, and it's not a prediction so much as they just looking with my eyes, if it holds true, and by the end of this year, we have BlackRock and MicroStrategy, each over 1 million Bitcoin. If Capital 21, Amber, whatever that thing was called, and the blockchain group, if they all accumulate hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin by the end of this year, and then we keep getting news that other governments and institutions are also buying up Bitcoin, there will then mathematically be no Bitcoin left to buy. At that point, you're basically battling with juggernauts. You don't really have a choice. So if people do sell, as we see now, those coins will get absorbed by whales or institutions or governments. However, if we are still in a cyclical market, it does make a lot of sense. It's usually, and has been thus far, the year after the halving tends to be when the market reaches the brand new crazy all-time highs. 2026 is usually, and I mean, I'll say it this way, the previously 2018 and 2022 are like the sad moping around years, as a lot of people thought that for some reason the market was going to go a lot higher or continue into the year after, and then it doesn't. Then at some point we get to 2023, that would be 2027. Prices basically fall. They kind of start going sideways and then slowly start going back up. And that's just the way that it's been before. Here's a little chart right here, a whole bunch of numbers. Apparently, the brand new cycle has begun, and it usually means that prices kind of rise rapidly over the course of the rest of the year. Typically, we get to the end of the year, prices go into the red. That's this candle right here. They, for some reason, stop moving and then eventually just start moving back up. And we are apparently in the last leg of the game. Recht says that Bitcoin tends to print the steepest rallies of its bull market after entering a fresh 4-year cycle. What we would normally see, and the only thing, as I've stated before, that has really hindered us has been the tariffs. We would normally have seen a good hefty amount more of movements upward. By the time we get into summer, there's some days where things look really aggressively good. But for some reason, once we enter into autumn, that's when when you first heard about the cryptocurrency market, you might not remember. It was probably around autumn. As it was getting colder in the northern hemisphere, this is usually when you heard that all these coins, people making money. What people entering the crypto market don't realize is that you also have to go through number 2 and you have to go through number 3 before you get to number 1, obviously. The problem is that you should have been buying at number 2 and number 3, so when you get to number 1, you make an exceptional amount of money. However, most people don't, and they tend to enter in number 1, and that's what usually causes the crazy bull run, because people always never pay attention to the past, and then they throw their money into the market at number 1, and then they expect, the gains, and I'll say it this way, the gains, the big monies that a lot of you will make because you've been here through the lower parts of the cycle. You accumulated when prices were much lower, and now you're benefiting from that. So, but new people enter the market and they don't pay attention. He said, and I quote, "It's 2025, the year of the Bitcoin parabolic rally into a new bull market peak. This phase of the cycle only comes around once every 4 years. This could very well be one of the most defining years of your life if you play it right," end quote. Zooming in on Bitcoin, Recht shared a chart suggesting that Bitcoin will initially, he's projecting that Bitcoin is going to go up to around $150,000 per coin before witnessing another consolidation period and igniting a final leg up to around $200,000. He says this Bitcoin cycle has been a story of reaccumulation ranges, but also downside deviations from these ranges. This will probably continue. Here's his chart right here for those of you who want to look at it. Here's the years at the bottom, so you can also, you can't really see the years. Anyway, the point is, his chart shows essentially this would be July right here in the red zone, which would basically mean that from now to June, sometime in June, we would move up to a $150,000 Bitcoin. We'd shimmy on down to around $140,000 before moving up to 200 or so thousand by the time we get to around August or September. This is what a lot of other analysts have been not shouting, but many people are kind of saying the exact same numbers. If you've missed any of the last 20 videos sprinkled around within those videos, analysts are fairly confident of a $200,000 to a $250,000 Bitcoin relatively soon-esque, with a smaller faction of crypto analysts basically announcing that they're expecting a $500,000 to $1 million Bitcoin by the time we get to the end of the year in like one final extreme glorious push up before potentially tumbling back on down. Yeah. So, as you might have imagined, very popular news, as news like this typically is. We've kind of re-honed into where all the analysts are kind of more or less saying the exact same thing. That was a weird phenomenon at the beginning of this year and the end of last year, where everyone was kind of on the same page talking about where they believed prices were going to go. There were some deviations after we got the first news, or at least a month of the news for the tariffs. But a lot of that has kind of eased into this $250,000 Bitcoin prediction. So we'll see what ends up happening. Arthur Hayes is also in the news again, basically discussing where he thinks that the cryptocurrency market is going to go. He thinks that basically inflation is going to rip and roar through different countries and different economies in unforeseen ways. And basically, it's going to allow Bitcoin to reach about $1 million per coin by the time we get to the end of Trump's presidency. He said, and I quote, "I think by the end of Trump's presidency, so end of 2028, Bitcoin will be around $1 million or will have crossed $1 million. It might be lower than that at that point, but I think we'll get to that nominal figure within the next 3 to 4 years. Mimicking, in a sort of way, Cathie Wood, Mike Novogratz, and many other people who think, and the weirdest part of the next cycle, if we are in this brand new 4-year cycle, the weirdest part is that people think that by the end of this year, we're going to be at $1 million Bitcoin, or within the next 3.5 years, we'll be at $1 million Bitcoin. Either way, it's going to get and probably continue to be quite dramatic within this space. I will mention once again, Bitcoin is going to $1 million per coin. It's just a matter of when. And I want you to all constantly make sure that you feel that you are at an adequate place within this market, because I do not want to hear from anyone in 2028 or 2029 that they don't have enough. You are so early in this market, and you need to make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity. That's the price prediction news, either from this year all the way up until the beginning of 2029. And yeah, let's move on. I say this not in a mean way, but I feel like that we were supposed to have cared about this news. Coinbase, for whatever reason, I can kind of figure out why, the last 2 weeks has been feeling their mojo, as it were, and people from Coinbase have been giving a lot of interviews and talking about the past of Coinbase and where they think it's going to go in the future and how the stable coin is going to be the everything. And they also, for some reason, I don't know where this came from. I truly do not, but this was also very popular. People were discussing with Coinbase if they planned on accumulating more Bitcoin. Let me put this into like a relative context for you. And I think it's because no one really knows the exact number. So we know how much Bitcoin is on Coinbase and other crypto exchanges that is in their hot and their cold wallets. Got it. Coinbase declared a number of years ago that I remember that video because I couldn't roll my eyes enough. Coinbase announced that they only had around 1,000 or 2,000 Bitcoin. That was it. They say, yeah, we only have, I think the number was like 1,400, like 1,438. And I sat there and I was like, there's no way on this planet that you could expect me to believe that. Coinbase got started in like 2012. Rumors are that they were working on starting the company years before that, when Bitcoin was literally at $1. They had to raise tens of millions of hundreds of millions of dollars to get this operation like really off the ground. You want me to believe that you raised $100 million and then you only bought $2,000 worth of Bitcoin? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. So since then, we've had no real number, and I think that Coinbase will probably never release the actual number. I assume at this point they probably have 1 million Bitcoin, just logically speaking, but they'll never actually admit it. So since we only have these old numbers, people have been asking them. Also, this ties into it directly. Between MicroStrategy and Metaplanet and Capital 21 and Amber whatever and the blockchain group, and there was a sixth company that about 5 days ago, in case you missed it, some guy announced he's taking $100 million to, must be nice, to put into a company that is going to be exclusively about Bitcoin. Surprise, right? This company, however, is going to focus on a lot of their daily operations for making content, videos, movies, and TV shows exclusively around Bitcoin. And the money that they make from these operations will be used to funnel to buy more Bitcoin, getting more money to then make new things, to then buy more Bitcoin. So it's basically another MicroStrategy. This news story is people questioning Coinbase, why make MicroStrategy too? Very, very popular news. I couldn't begin to imagine why. Where the heck are the words? Jeez Louise, dude. Coinbase, apparently, in news that we were supposed to care about in some sort of way. Coinbase allegedly considered what they call a high-risk Bitcoin strategy, but chose stability instead. The largest U.S. crypto exchanges purchased $153 million in crypto, mainly in Bitcoin in Q1 of 2025. And apparently Coinbase is launching a Bitcoin and Ethereum futures. Wow, fantastic, awesome. Coinbase Global, one of the largest U.S. crypto exchanges, revealed that they once considered a high-stakes Bitcoin buying strategy similar to that of Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. However, the company ultimately decided against going all in on Bitcoin, citing concerns over the risks to its startup status and financial stability. I'm gonna call nonsense here for two reasons. Now, hear me out. If you raised $50 million years ago, you could have literally used $50 million to have bought up all the Bitcoin. And I mean, this is back when there was only 8-9 million actual Bitcoin out there. The other part is, I don't believe for a second that they once considered anything remotely like this. You might have forgotten, I have not. A number of years ago, people were asking Brian Armstrong, and he kind of hinted in the direction of that he actually cares for and likes, maybe things have changed, that he actually likes Ethereum a lot more than Bitcoin. But as Ethereum came out 5-6 years after Bitcoin, I assume they really couldn't have changed their strategy to like an Ethereum only kind of thing, especially after the coin had only been out for a couple of months and or a year. What a lot of companies are now realizing or coming to terms with or even discussing is basically how much money MicroStrategy has made. If you missed it at any point, MicroStrategy's stock went up by 3,000%. Not 30, not 300, 3,000% in a 2-year period. And this is why we're seeing, every week we're getting more news about another company who is mimicking what they're doing, basically to become richer. Buy more Bitcoin, get richer. Stock go up, get more money, buy more Bitcoin. It's a loop that seemingly will never end. So even this idea, if Coinbase announced, if they really wanted to do something, they would also announce, we also have a Bitcoin reserve that we are never going to sell. This news was very popular in that it was meant to kind of be oh wow, Coinbase also had the foresight to do that years ago, but they didn't. Look at how cool they are. And it's like, no, it was just because of money. There's no way on this earth. Hear my words. Hear my words. If any of us had any idea how big that this was actually going to become, especially years ago, we would have gone full throttle. There would have been I would have no real estate. I'm going to tell you that right now because I would exclusively have only purchased crypto back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Like there would have been no deviation from that. But a lot of I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's always framed this way. A lot of Coinbase news is always kind of like the girl next door kind of thing. It's like, it's sweet and it's simple and like it made some mistakes, but it's, it's still thriving. And it's like, should I care that Coinbase 14 years ago didn't choose to do what MicroStrategy is doing now? In a video discussion on Twitter, Brian Armstrong looked back at his company's decision making. He admitted that at various times over the last 12 years, the thought of putting 80% of their balance into crypto, especially Bitcoin, was interesting. But as tempting as it was to get in on the action, Coinbase didn't want to take such a danger-fraught route. These people, what? This company would be worth like $690 billion, or even just maybe just Brian Armstrong by himself. Armstrong said the move was calculated by assessing the risks. Well, clearly it didn't work out that well because you all you had to do was just buy Bitcoin. You didn't have to buy anything else. Anyway, before I continue on, because a lot of Coinbase news stories are, I can't say the word because this is supposed to be family friendly. Nope, I can't even tell you what hand motion to make, but it's this kind of, sure, cool, awesome. This was also very big news. This kind of, because people were like, maybe they'll try and do it now. Why don't you worry about your own money and you try and get more Bitcoin? Why don't you try and become richer? Why does everyone care about what these rich people are doing? It's the weirdest thing in the entire world. I understand that it's fascinating that like rich people are in the market with us and we're skipping down this weird road together, but really? Okie dokie. Also sure, why not? I don't know how this became the new golden child of the cryptocurrency space, but people for some reason love them. Japanese investment firm Metaplanet. Wait, didn't we? No. We had news like 4 days ago. Isn't Metaplanet like a furniture company? No, they're a hotel. Is Metaplanet a hotel chain? There was some article a couple of days ago and they kept on saying like what they actually were. But that apparently they've shifted or something like that since getting into Bitcoin. So now they're called I think they're a hotel chain. Japanese investment firm Metaplanet has added another $129 million US dollars to their Bitcoin treasury. The news being is that Metaplanet now has more Bitcoin than El Salvador. It says Metaplanet now holds more Bitcoin than El Salvador. From humble beginnings to rivaling nation states, we're just getting started. This was said by the CEO Simon Gerovich on Twitter. On the 12th of May, the Tokyo-listed firm announced that it had acquired 1,241 BTC for around $101,000 per coin. The total buy at the highest ever purchase price is worth around $129 million at current market prices. This brings the firm's total holdings to 6,796 Bitcoin, currently worth around $707 million US dollars, with an average purchase price of $91,000 per coin. Shouldn't it be less than that? Metaplanet got into, no, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Metaplanet got into the market around like October, November. I could have sworn that Metaplanet had gotten into the market around like the $50, $60, $70,000 per coin kind of thing. So, yeah. Also, very popular news, widely discussed from here to there, as everyone seemingly loves Metaplanet. I mean, I get it, but I also don't get it. I'm still, in some form or fashion, I doubt no, I know it's not going to happen. Just wishful thinking. I would love if the news stories became that tons of people, 300,000 million billion new wallet addresses within the United States activated, and tons of normal people are buying Bitcoin. I would love if we heard that 1.2 wallet addresses between Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America all activated overnight, and everyone who needed it bought all the remaining Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin's price goes up to $1 million, and all these people become wealthy and have generational wealth for the ages. I guess generations is what generational wealth would be, but nope. All the companies keep buying over and over and over. It's the story of our market at this point. It's basically only companies that we keep getting news about. There's still, I don't bring it here. If you want to see it, tell me in the comments below. There's always a lot of like retail selling news if that gets your engine revved up. But usually a lot of the selling news on any given day basically revolves around smaller wallets. I think they're now categorized as wallets holding less than an entire Bitcoin, or who have had their wallet address active for 2 years. These are the only wallets who are selling. And all the rich people are buying a lot more. So that's the Metaplanet news. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely, there we go. There we go. Fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.